guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to change the way the world eats. My name is Shurina. I'm a certified nutritionist, health, nutrition, brain performance coach, and just someone with a lot of passion for helping you guys to learn how to use nutrition and lifestyle as precise tools to feel, look, and do your absolute best. Guys, today we are talking about a very interesting topic that unites all of us. Nutrition does unite all of us too. We all eat, right? We gotta get nutrition from our food, and also I think nutrition in general unites the whole world. Our planet, we only have one planet to provide the food, and we all need food to sustain our health, our looks, and of course our joy of living and our brain performance too. Today we are talking about sunshine and vitamin D that we all need. It doesn't matter where you live, who you are, how old you are, we all need that vitamin D, just like other essential vitamins and minerals. But vitamin D, it also unites us more because we get it, the best form is from the sun, and we all get it from the same sun, the one and only. But there are so many ways we can screw up that little opportunity sometimes that we have to get that essential vitamin D from the sun. And vitamin D, guys, some nutritionists say it's more like a hormone that we create when we are exposed to sun. We also can eat it from food, but sun is still the best form. And when it comes to supplementation, not all people at all are able to absorb every single supplement form, even the injections. I was listening recently to a podcast with a nutrition PhD and Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she said that there are people who have this genetic mutation that are not actually able to make the vitamin D that we actually can use from the supplement form, right? And so they actually do need to get it from sun exposure, or I believe tanning baths also do provide the same vitamin D when those tanning baths are of specific frequency, the wavelengths of light, UVB. But then the intensity usually is too high, so you just overshoot it and bring more harm to your skin than good, unless you do really short bursts, like maybe 2 minutes. That's it. And you actually shouldn't be tanning much, getting your vitamin D. So the first thing you want to learn, vitamin D from the sun, very important. The best form. Vitamin D is very important in general. A lot of vitamins and minerals will not work well or at all in your body if you do not get vitamin D. Like, for example, calcium, phosphorus, two crucial minerals in our body that maintain our bones, but also health on so many levels, muscle contraction, neuron function. They do not function well without vitamin D. In fact, vitamin D is needed to activate them. Otherwise, those minerals can end up either creating some kidney stones or gallbladder stones, or more calcification in our tendons or in our arteries. So a lot of bad stuff can happen just with those two minerals. Magnesium, for example, vitamin D is needed to make it work, to activate it. And vitamin D is just crucial for so many different reactions and different processes in our body. I'm not even going to start to enlist all of them, but what you want to understand, your body will not, and your brain too, will not work well if you are chronically vitamin D deficient, or you're just not going to work that well if your levels of vitamin D are suboptimal. So how do you know? First of all, guys, if you aren't like myself living in the tropics, probably you want to get tested if your vitamin D status is actually where it's supposed to be. I do testing once a year around my birthday, so it's coming up soon, and I'm going to be testing anyhow. But you want to get tested, because just because you're taking some multivitamin or taking your vitamin D in some other form, it doesn't mean that it's getting absorbed and getting used properly. So get tested, that's how you know. A few other things. I just watched a video by Mona Vand. She is kind of like a wellness influencer educator. By education, I believe she is a pharmacist, someone who can like help you with prescriptions and stuff. But I might be I'm not sure about that. Anyhow, she posted a video that you should be wearing your sunscreen even if there is no sun outside, and basically from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to bed. And that is not a great idea, guys, because if you wear your sunscreen blocks UV radiation from the sun, UVB specifically, if I remember correctly. But what I do know for sure that any sunscreen with SPF, that indicator of the protection higher than 8, will block all of your making of vitamin D. Probably if less, you're gonna maybe get some, not all of it. But so if you're wearing your sunscreen all the time, you're not getting any vitamin D, guys. So, and stay tuned. I'm gonna tell you how to work around that issue if you need to get in the sun for longer periods of time and you don't want to burn and don't want, your kids to burn, your husbands or wives to burn, and you want to protect them. So number one, sunscreen, again, especially with SPF higher than 8, and most of you are using higher than 8 SPF, will block the production of vitamin D in your skin. Skin is that organ that produces that vitamin D, and when the radiation from the sun hits your skin, right? The second thing you want to understand about sunscreen first and about that video. A lot of sunscreens, a lot of doctors and neuroscientists specifically do not recommend, because most of the sunscreens have a lot of compounds that either potentially or with some data can be neurotoxins and can be hormonal disruptors, right? And I'm not going to get into detail on every single ingredient any new brand will put into their sunscreen. But most probably you want to either try to avoid as much as possible all of those sunscreen, or get something that is made. I'm not actually sure if it's possible because I'm not a sunscreen person. I just dose my son, that I'm going to tell you also about my practice in a little bit. So either choose something completely natural that you are 100% sure of, and if you're not sure, feel free to send it over to me via email, angela@brainbreakthroughcoach.com, or through Instagram, even easier, at 1000 year young. Angela Shurina, you can find me on Instagram, easy. So also the quality, again, of the sunscreen matters a lot. You don't want to be giving yourself some hormonal issues or brain issues just because you decided to use sunscreen. And again, that short opportunity of summer, that for a lot of you is the only opportunity to get your vitamin D stores restored and downloaded, that they can last you, if not for the whole fall, winter and spring, then for a lot of it, the only basically biggest chance you get. And if you're always going to be wearing your sunscreen for all, the video was actually about beauty and how sun radiation can worsen things like darker pigmentations or some other not so beautiful from the perspective of beauty influencers things. So the video was about beauty thing, right? And it says that any UV radiation can potentially make your skin look not so good. Although to some degree, I probably do agree. But if you are a healthy person and have a healthy lifestyle, you're not going to be worried that much about a few wrinkles here and there. But that, again, if you are wearing that sunscreen, not only you can be potentially causing your hormonal disruption and your brain ill health by introducing some toxic elements, you'll also be robbing yourself from basically the only chance to get your natural vitamin D that has a lot of not good for you health complications, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. So sunscreen the whole day, not a great idea. Another thing, guys, The amount of skin you expose to the sun matters for the amount of vitamin you can get in a short amount of time. What does it mean? It means that if you have only not covered your face and maybe a little bit of your hands and a little bit or arms and a little bit of your legs, you're not going to be getting that much vitamin D from, let's say, 10 minutes in the sun. If you are in a bathing suit, in summer especially, you can get with a light skin tone all the vitamin D that you can absorb for the day in 10 minutes. And then you can put your sunscreen on and spend more sun if you want to in the sun outside. Again, I'm not a fan of sunscreen. So another thing, maybe get in the sun and get your tan, not your tan actually not your tan, because vitamin D stores for people who tan well, they are already full by the time you start tanning. So if you start tanning, you already went too far. You don't need to tan to get your vitamin D. Your tanning is your skin basically burning, not you making vitamin D. That is not the indicator of how much vitamin D you got. You get your vitamin D before you start tanning. And if you get burned, that means that vitamin D is out of the question. You went too far. So what I actually would recommend, get your vitamin D for 10 minutes in the sun. I'm specifically talking about summer and light skin people right now. And then put on some light clothing, the one that is comfortable in the heat, or get in the shade and spend most of the time there where you're not exposed to direct sun radiation. Now, again, I already mentioned that people with light skin get their vitamin D really fast, like 10 minutes in the bathing suit in summer, you done. People with olive skin, people with darker skin, especially if you are more to Afro-American type of skin, the darker your skin, the longer it's going to take you to get the same amount of vitamin D that light skin people get in their 10 minutes. So if you have like olive skin, probably 30 to 60 minutes. And if your skin is really, really dark, closer to 2 hours. And here you also want to think about if you have just some parts of your skin exposed to sun, then you're going to get less vitamin D and you're going to need more time. If you have exposed your whole body in your bathing suit, then the time that you need to get that vitamin D is less because there is more of your skin making that vitamin D. Hope that makes sense. What else is interesting about vitamin D? If you live by equator, like I am right now, where sun is 365 days a year, summer time, every time, then you pretty much can get your vitamin D from the time the sun is up. Maybe not exactly to sunset, but pretty much, most part of the day you can get your sun any time of the year. The further you live from the equator, especially in winter countries, summer is basically the only opportunity where you can get your vitamin D whenever the sun is out and it's not cloudy, etc., and you're not in the shade. Fall and spring, for those more winter countries, you get your vitamin D usually a couple of hours around noon. And in winter, you usually do not get much vitamin D at all. The further from the equator you are, the less and less seasons and time in the day you get for vitamin D. You can actually Google your specific location and how much vitamin D and sun you need and your type of skin, your color of the skin. What else is interesting about vitamin D? I think that's kind of it. We covered all of it. How much you need? Again, 10 minutes per day, exposing your full body for light skin people. If you are olive skin and darker skin, you want to be spending more time outside, exposing more of your skin. And it's kind of, at this point, it's getting a little bit more complex. It's not like we all have the opportunity to spend all of the time outside. That's why most of the people are deficient in vitamin D. I happen to be one of the lucky ones, especially at the moment. I live by equator. I'm a light-skinned person who tans very easily, so I get my vitamin D even if I don't want to get it. For the rest of you guys, you gotta figure it out. And the first thing, you gotta get tested for your vitamin D. If you're not, don't spend that much time in summer or, fall and spring, you don't dedicate specific time to your sun exposure to make that vitamin D. What you wanna do is, I think the best form of vitamin D is when you get it in the shot form. And then there are peel forms and powder forms and all kinds of forms. Testing is important because then you know if what you're taking is actually working. And if you don't test and you just take in, let's say, multivitamin, chances are you might not be getting that vitamin D absorbed and metabolized, right? So test, especially if you are experiencing already many different weird health issues that you can't really explain. You're kind of already healthy, have a healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, but then you feel tired all the time, your hormones or like your mood is down all the time because your neurotransmitters that make your mood go up also are dependent on that vitamin D status. So check your vitamin D status and then understand the specifics that, if you get outside in summer and you're like, I'm getting my vitamin D, but then you put your sunscreen all over you with SPF 50 and plus, and so you're not getting any vitamin D, you're just getting tanned probably. If you do, the same goes for your kids and any of your relatives. And again, if you have questions for specific weather type, for a specific location, for a specific skin type, your best friend is Google. You can also reach out and I'm going to give the best information that I have. But that is it, guys. And in general, about skincare, not just about sunscreens. You want to get as natural as possible. And you want to make sure that you do not put stuff on your skin without it having to be absolutely necessary, because all of that stuff, your skin absorbs that. And more often than not, some of that stuff will get absorbed in your bloodstream. And a lot of that stuff, because it's not for eating, can have profound hormone disrupting or brain disrupting or gut disrupting effects in your body, right? I'm freaky about it. Everything I use, I put on my skin, on my hair, my shampoos, my conditioners, everything. It's all natural, organic, and I don't eat a vegan diet, but I'm like, it's also going to be vegan because, seems to be better. Extract from plants work better on our skin. So some time ago, I decided to clean it all up, and it wasn't that much anyway. I have body lotion, I have my skin cream, I have some lip lotions, shampoo, conditioner, and I don't use any foundation or any of that stuff. So it's all pretty easy. And inorganic lipsticks or lip balms, I'm also trying to use as little as possible of that. Because again, that goes into you, it can have profound effects on your health, especially if used every single day. I hope you found this episode interesting, guys. You probably learned quite a lot about vitamin D and sun exposure you didn't know. It's quite a tricky thing, and that's why probably most of the people are either deficient or have suboptimal levels, and it is affecting people's health in so many negative ways. But first step, guys, don't worry, just check it. How are your vitamin D levels? The tests that we have universally seem to be working pretty well. So test it, see where you are, and then figure out the best way to get your vitamin D for your optimal health, your brain performance, and your mood. By the way, your sex drive and your life mojo also depend on vitamin D. So if you're not feeling that happy and well, vitamin D might be one of the big issues. So check it, test it, figure out how to get your vitamin D. If you want to get your vitamin D from the sun, don't wear a sunscreen for, again, 10 minutes if you're light skin and more if you're darker. and darker, right? The darker and the more of your skin you expose to sun, the more vitamin D your skin is able to make. So that also matters. Remember that. Share this episode with people who are putting ton and ton of lotions and screens on them. Please do share. That matters. If you have any questions, please reach out via email or on my Instagram. And as usual, guys, till next time, eat better daily.